The wide field was full of voices. Children ran in circles, their laughter echoing under the fading sun. Balls rolled across the dirt. Tiny feet kicked them with joy. And groups of alien children played together without a care. But at the far edge of the field, near a broken fence, stood a girl alone. Her skin had a soft glow, marked with faint silver lines that shimmered faintly in the light. Her clothes were simple, old, and torn at the edges. Her hair, long and tangled, moved slightly with the evening wind. She stood with her hands behind her back, watching, always watching, never joining. Every day it was the same. She arrived quietly, stood in the same place, and stared at the other children. Her large eyes followed every movement. Every ball kicked, every cheer, every smile. But no smile ever touched her own face. The other alien children sometimes noticed her. They whispered, they giggled, and sometimes they shouted words that made her flinch. They did not want her in their games. They acted as if she was invisible, but also as if she was something strange. It was clear she did not belong, and she knew it. A shadow fell across the field. It was a human man dressed in simple work clothes. Walking home after a long day, he often passed by the playground, and the noise of children usually made him smile. But today his eyes stopped. Drawn to the lonely figure near the fence, he slowed down, curious. He saw the girl standing there so still, like a statue carved in sadness. She was not laughing, not running, not talking, just standing with heavy eyes. Something about her loneliness pressed against his heart. The human remembered his own childhood. He remembered being the one who sat at the edge of the field. He remembered waiting for someone to invite him, but no one ever did. That memory burned in him. And now he saw the same pain in the alien girl's eyes. The girl looked down. Kicking a small stone at her feet, she wanted to play. Her body longed to run with the others, but every time she tried before, they pushed her away, so now she had stopped trying, stopped hoping. She only watched because watching was safer than being rejected again. The human man's steps slowed even more. He almost stopped walking completely. His mind whispered to keep moving, to leave her alone. But his heart would not let him. There was something fragile in her silence, something that begged not to be ignored. He stood for a moment at the edge of the field. Children shouted and laughed, but his eyes stayed only on her. The crowd of joy in front of him felt distant compared to the single figure of sadness. It was like she lived in a different world even while standing in the same place. A ball rolled close to her feet. She froze, her hands clenched tight, her eyes wide. It was a chance. Maybe the others would call her to kick it back. But instead another child ran fast, grabbed the ball, and left without even looking at her. The chance was gone in a second, and her shoulders dropped lower. The human felt a strange anger rise inside him, not anger at the children, for they were just young and cruel without knowing, but anger at the loneliness forced on this girl. She deserved better, even if no one around her thought so. The sun began to sink lower, painting the field in soft gold. The other children still played, their voices carrying high into the air. But the girl turned her face slightly away. As if hiding the tears in her eyes, she hugged herself tightly, trying to be strong, but her body trembled. The human knew this was not just a moment. This was her life, repeated every day. A life where joy existed only for others, never for her. And standing there, he felt he could not walk away anymore. He took a step forward, his boots pressing against the dirt. One small step, yet it felt heavy. The girl did not notice him yet, her gaze still fixed on the group of laughing children. But soon she would, and nothing would be the same again. For in that moment, on that quiet field, a lonely alien girl stood without a smile, and a human stranger was about to give her one. A reason that would change both their lives forever. The next day, the field was alive again. Children's laughter filled the air like birdsong. The dust rose from running feet, and the voices of play carried across the town. And once again, by the broken fence, the alien girl stood alone. The human man returned along the same road, his steps slower than usual. Yesterday he had noticed her for the first time, and that image had not left his mind. All night he thought about the way she stood, quiet as a shadow. Her eyes had said more than words ever could, a story of sadness she did not tell. Now he found himself searching for her, and when his eyes fell on the lonely figure at the edge of the field, his chest tightened. She was there again, exactly as before, watching, not playing, waiting for something that never came. He leaned against a wooden post, pretending to rest, but his gaze kept slipping back to her, drawn like iron to a magnet. The other children were too busy in their games to notice. But he noticed everything. The way her fingers twisted nervously. The way her shoulders curled forward as if to make herself smaller. She wanted to disappear, yet at the same time she longed to belong. The conflict was written in every small movement of her body. The man understood it well, for he had carried the same weight once in his own youth. He remembered being ignored, left out and forgotten, and now he saw himself in her. Though they were from different worlds, the girl looked up once, and her eyes brushed across his face. For a moment her gaze lingered, then she looked away quickly. Her cheeks turned a pale shade, her hands gripped tighter behind her back. She was not used to being noticed, and the thought frightened her. The human's heart ached. He wanted to step forward, to speak, to ask her name, but something inside him whispered to wait. Trust was fragile, and if he rushed it might shatter. A group of children shouted at the far side of the field. The ball bounced high into the air, cheers erupted. The girl's eyes lit for a second, following the game as if she were inside it. But then the cheer died from her face, replaced by the familiar stillness. She remembered her place, the place outside the circle. The human clenched his jaw. He could see it so clearly. The invisible wall built around her, not by her choice, but by the cruel rejection of others. And he knew walls like that could grow into cages if no one ever reached through. The wind picked up, carrying dust across the field. He stepped a little closer without thinking. His boots crunched softly on the dry ground. The girl's ears twitched at the sound, and she turned her head slightly. Their eyes met again, longer this time. Her gaze was cautious, sharp like a frightened bird's. But it was also searching, almost pleading without words. He gave her the smallest smile he could, gentle and soft. A smile not of pity but of recognition. She looked down instantly as if burned by the kindness. Her hands moved to her chest, pressing there as though steadying her heart. No one had ever smiled at her before. Not like that. It felt strange, dangerous, and she did not know what to do with it. The man sighed quietly. He had not spoken a single word, yet he felt the air between them shift. It was the start of something small but powerful. Still, he did not know how far to go, or whether she would let him near. Children's laughter rose louder, filling the air like a wall of sound. But the man only heard the silence between himself and the girl. The silence was heavy, but also full of possibility. He wanted to break it, but not with clumsy words. He needed to find a way that spoke to her heart. The ball once again rolled near her feet. She froze as she had before. Eyes wide, breath caught in her throat. This time, the human man was watching closely. He saw her hesitate, saw her hope flicker and then die as another child rushed past and snatched the ball away. Her face fell. Her shoulders curled even tighter. The man's hands tightened at his sides. It was unfair, so unfair he wanted to shout at the children, to tell them to see her, but he held his tongue. He knew this was not about forcing others to change. It was about giving her one reason to believe she mattered. The sun dipped lower, turning the sky to shades of orange. Shadows stretched across the field, and the children began to leave one by one. Soon the laughter faded and the dust settled, but the girl still stood there, silent, unmoving, her eyes fixed on nothing. The human finally took a breath and whispered to himself. "Tomorrow," he said softly. "Tomorrow I will not just stand and watch." His decision settled in his chest like a weight lifted as he turned to leave. His eyes caught hers one last time. This time, she did not look away so quickly. For a heartbeat, her eyes locked on his. And he saw something inside them. Not trust, not yet, but a spark, small and faint. It was the beginning of a question, the beginning of hope. And as he walked away into the fading light, he knew he would return, because the girl's silence had spoken louder than any words could. And now he could not ignore it. He had glanced at her once, but now his heart refused to look away. The third day came with a quiet sky. Clouds drifted slowly above the field, and the air carried the sound of children laughing once again. The game had already begun, balls bouncing, voices rising, feet kicking dust into the air, and as always near the broken fence, stood the alien girl, silent and alone. The human man had returned, though he told himself he was just passing by. His steps were steady, but his eyes betrayed his purpose, searching for the same small figure, and when he found her, standing exactly where she had stood the last 2 days, his heart ached. It was as if time did not move for her, as if she was trapped in the same moment again and again. He leaned on a wooden post, pretending to be casual, but his gaze never left her. He saw the way her eyes followed the other children, wide and hopeful for a moment, then dim with disappointment. He saw how she held herself tightly, as if keeping her heart from breaking apart. The children ran past her, shouting, laughing, not seeing her at all. Some even glanced her way and giggled cruelly. The girl lowered her head, pretending she did not hear. But her trembling fingers told the truth. She wanted to vanish, but her eyes kept betraying her, pulling back toward the joy she was denied. The human man's chest tightened. He could not stay silent any longer. Yesterday he had promised himself tomorrow would be different, and now tomorrow had come. He straightened, took a slow step forward, and then another, until the space between them shrank. The girl noticed him, her ears twitching at the sound of his boots pressing the dirt. Her eyes lifted quickly, meeting his for the briefest moment before darting away. Her whole body went tense like a frightened bird ready to fly. But she did not run, she stayed. Frozen by uncertainty, he gave her a small smile, soft and without force. Then he lifted his hand slowly, as if afraid to break glass, and gave her a gentle wave. The girl blinked, confused. No one ever waved at her. No one ever greeted her. She glanced around to make sure he was not calling someone else. But the human's eyes were fixed only on her. Her lips parted slightly, though no sound came. Her hands fidgeted at her sides, her chest rising and falling faster. She wanted to answer the wave, but fear weighed heavy on her small frame. Instead, she looked down at the ground, her cheeks glowing faintly. The human's smile did not fade. He knew it was not rejection. It was fear, and fear could be eased little by little. So he stayed close but did not press further. He stood nearby, watching the children, as if sharing the same view with her. Minutes passed in silence, but this silence felt different. It was not the heavy silence of loneliness, but the fragile silence of something new being born. The girl peeked at him from the corner of her eyes. He was not mocking her, not laughing, not walking away. He was simply standing beside her, as if her place was worth sharing. Her heart beat faster. She could not understand why. No one had ever chosen to stand next to her before. No one had ever treated her as if she belonged, even in silence. The man noticed the way she looked at him from the corner of her eye. He did not speak, but instead shifted his stance and crossed his arms. It was a quiet gesture, but it told her he was not leaving. That small detail broke something in her. Something made of ice, something that had locked her heart away. The ball bounced close to them again. It rolled slowly, stopping only a few steps from where she stood. Her breath caught. This was the same chance she had faced before. But this time the human was there and his eyes turned toward her. He gave her a nod, a simple encouragement. She froze, fear battling with hope. Her foot twitched, her body leaned forward. For the first time in years, she wanted to move. She wanted to be part of the game, even if just for one small moment. Her hand clenched, then released. Her foot lifted slightly, ready to step. But before she could act, another child came running and grabbed the ball. They didn't even look at her, they just laughed and ran away. The moment was gone, stolen again. Her shoulders sank, tears threatened to rise. But then she felt it, his gaze still steady. Still kind, he had not laughed at her failure. He had not turned away in disappointment. He gave her a smile again, calm and warm. It was as if he was telling her without words, "It's okay. You're not invisible to me." The girl's chest tightened, her lips trembled for the first time. She wanted to smile back. Her body fought her fear, but her heart pushed harder. She lifted her eyes and met his gaze directly. It was only for a second, but in that second, the wall between them cracked. The human knew it too. He had not spoken, she had not spoken. Yet something had passed between them, silent but powerful, a connection formed not by words, but by kindness, and though small, it was strong enough to change everything. As the sun lowered and the shadows stretched long across the field, the children slowly left, their laughter fading into the distance. But the girl and the man remained, standing near the broken fence, two figures bound not by conversation but by a silent connection, a bond that promised tomorrow would not be the same as yesterday. The fourth day came with brighter skies. The sun rose higher, painting the field with golden light. Children rushed out early, their laughter sharp and loud. The ground shook with their feet as games began, dust rising in playful clouds, and there she was again, the alien girl near the broken fence. Her posture was the same, still and small, but her eyes were different. They flicked toward the road more often now, searching, hoping. And when the human man appeared at the edge of the field, her chest lifted. Though she tried to hide it, he had come back. Just as she had secretly prayed, he walked calmly, but his gaze was firm. Landing on her without hesitation, she looked down quickly, her fingers twisting together. But deep inside, her heart beat faster. The silence they had shared yesterday had not been forgotten. The man stopped near her, close enough to be seen, but not so close as to scare her. He gave her the same gentle smile, and this time, she did not turn away as quickly. Her eyes met his for longer, before darting shyly to the ground again. He reached into his small bag, pulling something out slowly. It was a toy ball, old but still round. The leather worn smooth by years of use, he had carried it since his own youth. A piece of his past he had never thrown away. Now he held it out in his palm. A quiet offer. The girl's eyes widened, confusion mixing with fear. She had never been given anything before. Not by children, not by adults. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her body trembled as she stared at the ball. The symbol of the games she was never allowed to join. The man crouched slightly, making himself smaller, less threatening. He rolled the ball gently across the dirt toward her feet. It stopped just before her toes, waiting. Like a question without words, the girl froze, her chest rising and falling quickly. She looked at the ball, then at him, then back at the ball. Her mind screamed with doubt. What if the others laughed? What if this was a trick? But his eyes held steady, calm and kind, promising no harm. Her foot twitched. She bent slowly. As if reaching for fire, her fingers brushed the ball, and she gasped quietly. The leather felt warm from the sun. Real beneath her hand, she lifted it slightly, holding it close to her chest as though afraid it might vanish. The human smiled wider, nodding with quiet approval. He gestured with his hand, showing her to try to throw it back. Her lips pressed together, her body stiff with nerves, but after a long pause, she bent her arm awkwardly and pushed the ball forward. It rolled across the dirt clumsily, not far, not strong. But it reached him, and that was enough. His smile deepened as he picked it up and tossed it gently back. The girl caught it against her chest. Surprised by her own success, her lips trembled, the corners almost curving into a smile. The other children noticed now. They stopped their games, staring at the strange sight near the fence. The lonely girl with the toy, the human with his steady gaze. Whispers rose, some mocking, some confused. But the girl ignored them for the first time. Her world fixed only on the ball and the man. Again he gestured, again she rolled it back. The game repeated, small and clumsy. But each time her movements grew less stiff. Each time her heart grew lighter, and with every throw, her eyes lifted more confidently until they met his without fear. Her lips finally curved, not fully, but enough. A spark of joy touched her face, the first true smile in years. The human felt his chest tighten, his own eyes growing wet. It was such a small smile. Yet it carried the weight of 1,000 broken days healed in one moment. The other children murmured, some laughing cruelly, but others fell quiet, unsettled by what they saw. The girl who never smiled now held a ball and looked alive, and the human beside her seemed to shield her from the cruel voices without a single word. The sun shifted higher, shadows growing shorter. The field seemed different now, less cruel, less heavy, because for the first time, the lonely girl was no longer just a watcher. She was part of something, no matter how small. The man picked up the ball once more and tapped it lightly against his chest before tossing it gently. The girl caught it again, her arms clumsy but eager. This time she laughed, soft and fragile but real. A sound so rare that even the children who mocked her fell silent for a moment. The human's heart swelled. He knew this was only the beginning. A step so small it might seem nothing to others, but to her, it was the first step toward a world she had never believed she could touch. The first step toward friendship. As the day waned and the children drifted away, the girl still held the ball close, her eyes brighter than the setting sun. And when she finally handed it back to him, she whispered one word so quiet he almost missed it. "Thank you." It was the first time he had heard her voice, and it was the most beautiful sound in the world. The next day began with the same rising sun. Children rushed to the field, their voices filling the air with joy. They carried their own balls, their own games, their own laughter. But today something new waited by the broken fence. The alien girl stood in her usual place, but she was not the same. Her eyes were brighter, her body less stiff. And when the human man appeared at the edge of the road, her lips lifted slightly. It was a small smile. Shy and uncertain, but it was there. He carried the same old ball in his hands. She noticed it instantly, her fingers twitching with memory. Yesterday she had touched it, held it, and even laughed for the first time. Now she waited, nervous but hopeful that it might happen again. The man nodded to her, calm and gentle. He tossed the ball lightly toward her, letting it bounce at her feet. Her heart pounded as she bent down and picked it up. Her hands still clumsy, but this time she held it with more confidence. The other children stopped their games and turned, their eyes fixed on the strange sight. Whispers rippled across the field, sharp as knives. "She's playing with him," one said. "She doesn't belong," another hissed. Laughter rose, cruel and mocking. The alien girl froze, her shoulders shaking, her grip on the ball trembling. She wanted to drop it, to run away. But then she looked at him, the human, standing steady with calm eyes. He gave her the same quiet nod as if saying, "Don't stop." Her breath caught, her chest tight, and then, with all the courage she could find, she pushed the ball forward. It rolled across the dirt and stopped at his boots. The laughter grew louder, children pointing at her awkward throw. But the man smiled as if she had done something perfect. He picked up the ball and tossed it back again. This time she caught it against her chest, her lips trembling. The voices behind her jeered, but she heard only his steady silence. The ball rolled between them once more, back and forth, each throw stronger than the last. Each catch a victory. The mocking grew sharper. "Look at her. She thinks she can play?" one boy shouted. "She's worthless," a girl sneered. The alien girl flinched, her body folding, tears threatening her eyes. But the human stepped forward now, his presence like a shield. He crouched to her level, his voice low and calm. "Don't listen to them," he whispered. "They laugh because they don't understand, but I see you." Her eyes widened. Shimmering with tears, she nodded once, small but firm. Then he stood tall again and tossed the ball higher. It arced through the air, spinning, glowing in the sunlight. The children gasped as she lifted her hands and caught it, not clumsy this time, but strong and sure. Her feet shifted, her arms steady, and when she laughed, a soft, fragile sound, the field went silent. The children froze. They had never seen her laugh before, never seen her face light with joy. For years she had been a shadow at the edge of their games, and now here she was, alive, smiling. With a human beside her, shock rippled through them, stronger than their mockery. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others whispered nervously, unsure what to say, but none of them laughed anymore. They watched as the girl and the man passed the ball again and again and again. Each throw was a declaration, each catch a promise, that she was no longer invisible, that she had someone who stood with her. The man's eyes never wavered. Every time she faltered, he steadied her with his gaze. Every time she trembled, he gave her strength with a nod. And soon her movements grew bold, her laughter louder. She was no longer afraid. Because he was there, the whispers faded into silence. The mocking turned into stunned stares. And for the first time, the girl did not care what they thought. She was not playing for them, she was playing for herself. And for the human who had given her a reason to smile, the sun dipped lower as the day wore on. Children drifted away, their games forgotten. Their whispers drowned, but the girl and the man remained, the ball rolling between them, steady as the bond that now tied them. When the last of the others left, she stopped and held the ball close. Her eyes met his, bright and wet, her lips parted, and she whispered again, stronger this time, "Thank you." The human smiled softly. He reached out and gently rested his hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to thank me," he said. "You were always meant to smile." And as the golden light bathed the field, the alien girl, once mocked and forgotten, stood tall for the first time. The others had laughed. But now they had seen the truth. The lonely shadow had become a spark of light, and nothing could take that away. The sun was lower in the sky, painting the field in orange light. The laughter of children had faded, replaced by the quiet hum of insects. Most of the young ones had gone home, their games forgotten. Only the alien girl and the human man remained near the broken fence. She still held the ball close to her chest. Her fingers traced the cracks in the leather, her eyes softer now. For the first time in years, she looked less like a shadow, more like a child, but beneath the small smile, something deeper lingered. The man noticed it. Her joy was real, but so was the heaviness behind it. He crouched gently, lowering himself to her level. "You like it?" he asked softly, nodding toward the ball. Her lips parted, then she nodded quickly. "Yes," she whispered, Her voice was faint, as if unused for too long. He smiled, but then waited. He wanted her to speak more. To tell him something, anything. She clutched the ball tighter, her eyes flicking nervously around. The field was empty now, yet she still looked as if afraid of being overheard. After a long silence, her words came, broken and trembling. "They don't want me," she said. Her gaze fell to the ground, her voice thick. "No one wants me?" The man's chest tightened. His breath heavy, he asked gently, "Why?" Her hands shook, her body curling smaller. She hesitated, as though the truth was a wound too deep to uncover. "My parents," she whispered finally. They died in the war," her voice cracked, her shoulders trembling. "They were soldiers, they fought. They never came back." The man's throat tightened. His eyes stung with pain. The girl's eyes shimmered, but no tears fell. It was not because she did not want to cry. It was because she had cried too many times already, until no tears remained. "When they were gone," she continued, her voice shaking, "no one took me in, no one cared. The other families said I was cursed. They said I should not have survived when my parents didn't." Her small hands dug into the ball, as if holding onto it for strength. "They laugh at me, they say I'm broken. Even the grown ones look away when they see me." Her voice dropped lower, almost disappearing. "I'm alone." The man's chest felt heavy. Each word was like a blade, carving into his heart. He wanted to reach out, to pull her into his arms, but he feared she might break. So he stayed gentle, steady, present. "You are not broken," he said firmly. His voice carried warmth, strength. "You are not cursed. You are a child and you deserve love just like anyone else." Her eyes lifted, wide and wet. She searched his face, looking for a lie, for a trick. But she found none, only truth, only kindness. Her lips trembled, her voice weak. "No one ever said that to me before." The man's heart cracked. He thought of his own childhood, of how words could wound deeper than blades, and he vowed silently never to let her feel worthless again. He placed his hand lightly over hers, steadying her trembling grip on the ball. "You don't have to be alone anymore," he said softly. Her chest rose sharply, her breath caught. She wanted to believe him, but fear clung to her. What if you leave too?" she whispered. Her voice was small, a fragile question that carried the weight of her whole life. The man did not answer right away. He let the silence rest, let her feel the steadiness of his presence, then he spoke, slow and certain. "I won't leave," he said. "As long as you want me here, I'll stay." Her lips parted. Her hands shaking harder now, she hugged the ball tightly, pressing it against her chest for the first time. Tears slipped down her cheeks, quiet and steady. Not tears of pain, but tears of release. Her walls had cracked open, and the truth had finally spilled out. The human reached into his bag. Pulling out a cloth, he offered it to her gently. She stared at it, then at him, and slowly accepted. She wiped her tears with small, careful motions. When she finished, she held the cloth tightly, as if it too was a gift. The sky above turned deep with twilight. The first stars blinked into life. The field was almost dark, but neither moved to leave, for in that quiet place something new had begun. The girl no longer stood as a shadow. She no longer carried her pain in silence. She had shared it, and he had listened, and in his listening, he had given her something she had never known: hope. The next morning the field was alive again. Children ran, their laughter filling the sky. The ball bounced between them. Dust rose from the ground, but something had changed. Something that made the air feel different. The alien girl walked slowly toward the broken fence. Her steps were hesitant, but her shoulders were not so bent anymore. Her hands still clutched together, but her eyes carried a quiet light. For the first time in years, she no longer felt invisible. The human man was already there, waiting. He stood tall with the old ball in his hand. When she saw him, her lips curved shyly. A small smile, fragile but real. He tossed the ball gently toward her. She caught it against her chest, her grip steady. The children turned, watching again, whispering as before, but this time she did not look down. She looked straight ahead, her eyes clear. The man nodded to her, and she threw the ball back, stronger than before. It rolled cleanly across the dirt. He caught it with ease, his own smile proud. The children stared. They had expected her to fumble, to fall, to look foolish, but she didn't. Instead, she laughed softly when the ball returned to her hands. The sound carried across the field, silencing their whispers. For years they had mocked her, called her cursed, called her broken, but now they saw something different. They saw her smile and it unsettled them. Because it was not weakness, it was strength. The game between her and the human grew, back and forth, faster, steadier. Her movements awkward at first, then more natural. Her laughter grew louder, her face brighter. Every throw was a piece of her fear breaking away. Some children stepped closer, curious. They watched in silence, unsure. One brave boy whispered, She's smiling. Another girl frowned. Confused, no one had ever seen her like this before. The human noticed the gathering crowd. He did not stop, he did not speak, he only kept tossing the ball. Giving her strength with each throw, he knew the moment was not his, it was hers. The girl caught the ball again, but this time, instead of returning it to the man, she turned slightly. Her eyes landed on the children watching. Her heart raced, fear surged. But she lifted the ball anyway and tossed it toward them. The ball bounced into the group, landing at a boy's feet. He froze, staring at her. The others waited, silence thick around them. Slowly, he bent down, picked up the ball and tossed it back. Her chest filled with shock, her breath caught. The ball returned to her hands, not from the human, but from another child. And for the first time, she laughed louder. Her eyes bright with tears, she tossed it again. And another child caught it one by one. The wall that had stood for years began to crumble. The human stood back now, letting her take the lead. He watched as she moved. Still shy, still awkward, but no longer alone. The children began to circle, playing with her, not against her. The field that had once rejected her now held her in its center. Her heart raced, her cheeks glowed. Her laughter rang out clear. The sun shone brighter. The dust sparkled in the golden light, and she smiled, wide and unafraid. A smile that had been buried for years, finally free. The human's chest swelled, pride and relief mixing. He knew the journey was not over. There would still be cruel words, still be days of doubt. But now she had something stronger. She had a reason to stand, a reason to fight, a reason to smile. As the game continued, the girl stumbled and fell. The children gasped, waiting for her to cry. But instead she laughed, brushing dirt from her knees, and when she looked up, her eyes met the human's. He smiled at her and she smiled back, stronger than ever. When the sun began to set, the children drifted away, but they looked at her differently now. Not as a shadow, some even waved before leaving. Unsure but kinder, the girl stood with the ball in her hands. Her chest rising with deep breaths, she turned to the human, her eyes shimmering, her lips parted, and this time her voice was steady. You stayed, she whispered, her words carried warmth, gratitude, and trust. He knelt down, resting a hand on her shoulder. I told you I would, he said gently, and I always will. Her tears came again, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of hope, of belonging. She hugged the ball close and whispered, You gave me a reason to smile. The stars blinked above as night arrived. The field lay quiet, but something had changed forever. No longer would the alien girl stand alone by the broken fence. No longer would her life be silent shadows. Because one human had seen her, one human had stayed, and with that, the galaxy itself felt just a little brighter.